Our first gathering music video was Don't Worry, Be Happy. The song is by the American musician Bobby Mcferrin. It was released in 1988. It was the first a cappella song to reach #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, a position it held for 2 weeks. Born in New York City in 1950, Bobby's parents were classically trained singers, and both had distinguished vocal careers. His father, Robert Mcferrin Sr., was the first African-American male to perform solo at the Metropolitan Opera, and it was his singing that was dubbed in for actor Sidney Poitier on the 1959 Porgy and Bess soundtrack. Bobby's mother, a soprano, was a Metropolitan Opera judge who chaired the vocal department at Fullerton College here in Orange County. If you wish to see the video again, the link is in the order of service that was sent out in the announcement for today. And you may wonder, why 2 music videos this morning? Well, because I laughed each time I watched Don't Worry, Be Happy. And so did everyone else who saw it in the worship committee and our speaker. And Robin Williams is so silly, as they all are. And it's a good example of fellowship between performers and the heightened joy from collaboration. Our second gathering music video was We Shall Be Known, written by Mamuz and was sung by the How We Thrive virtual choir, which was comprised of UUs from all across the country. This video was made during the pandemic and shows the power of fellowship, all these voices coming together and creating this beautiful music and beautiful video. Together we thrive. Like us being here together, whether by Zoom or in the fellowship, together we thrive. So again, welcome. My name is Rachel Daniels. I'm your worship associate, and this is another hybrid service. We're in person and by Zoom, and we're still a semi-pilot program. We continue to work out the technical kinks, providing in-person and Zoom services, and you may hear a pause every now and then, and it means that we're switching sound between Zoom and the sanctuary. In Unitarian Universalism, we accept you for who and what you are. We provide a non-judgmental religious home that will accept and support you wherever you may be in your life's journey. This is a safe place to stand out, stand up, and change your mind. Our only doctrine is love. I'm joining you today from the fellowship, as you can see. Don, our master audiovisual technician, is working his magic from Las Vegas. Pam, who masterminds our services, I wrote this before I knew Tom is our adept and wonderful technician here in the fellowship. The eloquent and beautiful music that Carole provides for our service is being done safely from her home today. The lit candles, hot coffee, delicious cookies are brought to you by the dynamic Sunday duo of Paul and Candy. For all of those on Zoom and everyone in the sanctuary, thank you for being here. We appreciate you and your fellowship. You guys can't hear it, but there's a screaming child in the back room, so that's why every now and then I smile. Anyway, I'm personally delighted to have 2 daughters, 4 grandchildren, a son-in-law, and my husband here in the fellowship today. I'm also so happy to have our guest speaker, Emmeline Cordingley. And Emmeline will be speaking to us on fellowship with each other, fellowship with the earth. We will be exploring what fellowship means to us, where and how to put into practice the ideals of fellowship with one another, with the earth, and with our own selves. Emmeline is a Master of Divinity student at the Starr King School for the ministry in Oakland. Emmeline is studying to become an interfaith chaplain. She is originally from Massachusetts. Emily has lived in and around Los Angeles for the past 3 years and says she does not miss East Coast winters at all. Emily enjoys walking in the mountains, drinking fancy coffee, as we all do, and listening for the sacred in the rustling of trees. Unitarian Universalists have 7 principles that we affirm and promote. When looking at which principle today's sermon may mostly focus on, I thought of perhaps the fourth principle, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. As Unitarians, we do not tell you what to believe, just that we support each other in our journey. This is different than a church. It is stated on the UUA website that as a faith tradition, Unitarians make it a sacred right and responsibility to engage in a free and responsible search as an act of religious devotion. Institutionally, we have left open the questions of what truth and what meaning are. We are acknowledging that mindful people will, in any age, discover new insights, and this is fellowship, support for one another, support for each other on our journey, our spiritual journey, as well as our life's journey. And so I'm super excited to hear what Emily discusses with us this morning about fellowship. Every Sunday, we celebrate our fellowship. On Fridays, we deepen our relationships with each other during Zoom at noon, and all are welcome to join us. And it seems that nothing of significance would be accomplished in the world without being in fellowship or collaboration with each other. Together, we thrive. For those on Zoom, the order of service for today's program is in the email notice you received, and those in the fellowship, we have copies of the order of service in the back of the room. And if you have a silent joy or sorrow at any time during this service, you can light the candles that are over on the side of the sanctuary, and we will have spoken joys and sorrows later on in the service. And Emily will stay around for a very short time after the service to answer questions, or maybe a long time, I'm not sure, but Emily will be around for a bit. And before we go to our chalice lighting, Noreen will come up with an announcement to help us to help others.
Morning, everybody. We were thinking of collaboration, and I hope that you will collaborate with South County Outreach. We're running a food drive here at UUFLB. We'll get some barrels on Wednesday, and your help in making that as successful as we can would be really great. There are flyers here, and I can talk to you later about what the needs are and what you might do. But I hope everybody takes home at least one of these, maybe 5 or 6 of them, to distribute to people who might be willing to provide some cans. Everybody runs food drives in November. We're just a little early, so strike while the iron is hot. But please talk to me afterwards. And thank you, Rachel. Really appreciate your help.
Thank you, Noreen, for putting this together, for helping us to help others in our community. And the barrels will be out in front of the church, Noreen, of the fellowship. The barrels will be out in front. Quite often, okay. Okay. What Noreen is saying is that there will be a drop-off point here, but to please get involved and hand out the flyers for this effort that we're making to help those that are in need during this holiday season. Everywhere on Sunday mornings, Unitarians light the chalice. Please grab a candle at home if you have one nearby. Emmeline will light our chalice as I read the chalice lighting words. We light this chalice to shine on our inner peace, to brighten our love for each other and faith in ourselves. We light this chalice to be welcoming to whomever we meet and bring kindness to all living creatures. This is the light of inspiration. This is the light of hope, and this is the light of love. Thank you. Now we're going to read our centering thought, and the words will be on the screen. And please stay muted for the centering thought, but we hope you'll read along at home, and we will read what's on the screens here in the sanctuary. Come into this circle of community. Come into this sacred space. Bring your whole self. Bring the joy that makes your heart sing. Bring your sorrow and brokenness too. With fellowship, we expand our love and our ability to be in a spiritual and growing relationship with the world and all its complexity. We need each other. Reverend Rob Hardy's from All Souls Unitarian Church in Washington, D.C. Now we turn to our very fabulous and talented music director, Carole Cole, for our opening hymn, number 360, Here We Have Gathered. The words will be in chat if you're on Zoom, or if you're here in the fellowship, please grab a gray hymnal in the back of the room. We welcome you to sing along at home, even though you're muted. And while safely masked here in the sanctuary, we invite you to sing out loud or hum. I usually hum to save those around me from my singing off key.
Good morning. Please join me on Here We Have Gathered.
Good morning. So nice to see all your faces. Our call to worship today is from Psalm 133. It's short. How rare it is, how lovely, this fellowship of those who meet together.
Thank you. Now is time for our Unison Affirmation. Please unmute yourselves and look at the screens, and the words will be up, and we'll read the affirmation. You guys will be unmuted, and of course, we'll read it here in our sanctuary as a reminder of why we come together. Remember to unmute And please keep it on while reading. Love
Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Now it's time for our broken joys and sorrows, and we pause our recording. If you raise your hand or send a chat message, we will locate and unmute you, but you'll have to unmute yourself. And then first we'll go to our Zoom attendees, and then to those here in the sanctuary. And there is a laptop that will be brought to you, but then we'll go first to the Zoom people. Thank you for sharing. It weighs so heavy on our hearts, but we share in the pain of the cancer and losing people. Helen and John, your good friend, Mike, and then your sister back in the hospital, Cindy. It's, yeah, it weighs heavily. We also share your joy, Patrick, of having your mom back together, and Zena enjoying her and staying home today so she can enjoy your mom being back. We will definitely keep you in our hearts, and our hearts are with you. And for anyone that did not share what's in their hearts today, our hearts are with you. So thank you all for sharing.
The reading today is an excerpt from the book Braiding Sweetgrass by Potawatomi tribe member and botanist Robin Wall Kimmerer, and I highly recommend this book if you're in the market for a book. She writes, many Indigenous peoples share the understanding that we are each endowed with a particular gift, a unique ability. Birds to sing and stars to glitter, for instance. It is understood that these gifts have a dual nature, though. A gift is also a responsibility. If this bird's gift is song, then it has a responsibility to greet the day with music. It is the duty of birds to sing and the rest of us to receive the song as a gift. Asking what is our responsibility is perhaps also to ask, what is our gift and how shall we use it? Other beings are known to be especially gifted with attributes that humans lack. Other beings can fly, see at night, rip open trees with their claws, make maple syrup. What can humans do? We may not have wings or leaves, but we humans do have words. Language is our gift and our responsibility. Words to remember old stories, words to tell new ones.
There are many ways to help the fellowship, and one of the ways is by your financial support. Carole will be playing while we start passing the basket here in the fellowship, and we'll have a slide up that shows ways to donate to the UUFLB. The e-blast about today's service includes 2 buttons to facilitate payments online. You may mail it, or you can mail in your checks. That's the slide that's up. Thank you, Carole. Now, you're in the sanctuary. In the sanctuary, please stand as you're comfortable in a circle as we sing to each other while Mass. And please join us on Zoom as Carole plays From You I Receive, to You I Give. And Candy will be up here on stage. Thank you. I think I've recovered now from hearing about John and Helen and Mike's friends, and seeing the grandchildren here makes me feel really good. Anyway, now we have our meditation from Emmeline and Sherry too.
Okay, so if you need to shift in your seat to get more comfortable, I invite you to do so now. And during this time, if it feels comfortable to close your eyes, feel free. If not, you can keep them open and maybe soften your gaze so you're not looking anywhere in particular. And then from deep in your belly, I invite you to take a full breath in through your nose. Hold it for a second, and then release it through your mouth. As you continue to breathe, maybe let your attention drift to the air around us, the places where you can feel the air on your skin, your sense of space and distance between you and the person nearest you. As you're breathing, notice the temperature of the air, any movement in the air around you. Notice how it holds us all. Let us be in silence with that noticing and our breath for a few moments. I'm waiting. Thank you. So today, when I was thinking about what to write for my sermon, I was struck by you all calling yourself a fellowship, the UU Fellowship of Laguna Beach. And with that word, my mind immediately went to one place, which is when I was in college, every summer I'd come back home and I would have all this time to spend with my friends. And for some reason, what we ended up doing over and over again, out of all the possible options for filling our time, was watching Fellowship of the Ring, which, for those of you who don't know, is the first installment of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So these characters are in fellowship on a journey to defeat evil. And there we were in our own fellowship on a journey to devour as many sour gummy worms as possible, half of us fully asleep, half of us reciting the dialogue word for word. And it was such a joy to be in lighthearted fellowship with my friends in this way. And it brought me a great sense of belonging, which is one of the most important aspects and benefits of fellowship. There's a somatic therapist named Resba Menakem who wrote a book called My Grandmother's Hands, which again, I highly recommend. And in it, he explores some of the ways that our desire for belonging can bring us great joy, and how the fear of not belonging has also contributed to the terrible acts of violence humans have committed over time. And he relates this back to a nerve that we all have in our bodies. It extends from our brainstem into most of our body, including our lungs, heart, stomach, kidneys, intestines. And it's actually the largest organ in the autonomic nervous system, which is the system that regulates our basic functions that work without our conscious effort, like the rate at which your heart beats. And this is called the vagus nerve, but Menakem calls it the soul nerve. He writes, "The soul nerve is where we experience a felt sense of love, compassion, fear, grief, dread, sadness, loneliness, hope, and many other things that make us human. When your body has an emotional response, such as when your stomach clenches, your voice catches, your shoulders tighten, that is your soul nerve at work. And when your body feels relaxed, open, settled, in sync with other bodies, that is your soul nerve functioning. So when we sit in meditation like we just did, and we give attention to our breathing, that focus affects your soul nerve and actually settles and rests your nervous system." He also writes, "The soul nerve is not just where we experience our emotions, it is also where we feel a sense of belonging. This is why we can think of it both as a bodily organ and a communal organ. More than almost anything else, each of us yearns to belong. Within each human body," he writes, "is this deep, raw, aching desire." And that resonates deeply with me, especially after a year and a half of pandemic living, of being physically separated from our community, from each other's physical bodies. And that's not to say we can't find community, belonging, fellowship in a virtual setting. We're learning this year exactly, how to do that. One thing the pandemic has reminded us of is the sheer value and importance of connecting with one another. And one way to explore connection with others is through somatic exercises. And somatic just means of the body, like humming. So humming, like meditation, is something our ancestors have been doing for thousands of years in different sacred practices. And the act of humming interacts with your soul nerve, can settle it into a more peaceful state, but can also synchronize your nervous system with the people around you. So I'd like to invite you all to hum together now. Don't be shy, because we're all going to do it in community. I will tell you when to begin, but we're going to do it like this. You're going to pull a deep breath in from deep in your torso, from your diaphragm, gently push that out as a hum, and stop for air when you need to, and then continue to hum. So it'll be like, I have to breathe. I'm going to continue humming. Okay. Hum, breathe, continue. We're going to do that for a couple minutes. And I invite you, while we're humming, to notice how that hum feels in your body. If it's in your chest that you feel it, if it's in your mouth. And when it's time to stop, I'll hold up fingers like this and I'll count down 3, 2, 1. So no one has to feel embarrassed that they're the last one humming. We will all be together in the hum. If at any point this is like profoundly uncomfortable or painful for you, just stop. And feel free to close your eyes or maybe make eye contact with someone else if you want to feel extra connected. And we're gonna hum. Okay, so here we go. Mm. One. Thank you. Wow. Thank you for indulging me in that hum. What a delight. Humming is one way to be in sync with each other. It is one way to outwardly express our being in fellowship with one another. When we're humming, our bodies are exploring this energy of being in space together through these shared vibrations moving through the air from our bodies. Sometimes I feel like I need to shake off a hum. So if you feel like you need to shimmy, that's fine. Scientists say that all of nature actually vibrates. Trees, beetles, the air, planets, my dad snoring on the couch. And not only does everything vibrate, but when different vibrating things come together, they will often start to vibrate together at the same frequency. They sync up. And scientists point to a variety of phenomena that follow this pattern. Some examples are when you're at a concert and every person is clapping, and suddenly, without any one person in the crowd directing it or deciding it, you're all clapping in unison. That's an example of synchronization. It also happens that when fireflies of certain species gather together, they will start flashing in sync in the dark. And the coolest example I have found is that the rotation of the moon is exactly synced with its orbit around the Earth. And this is why we always see the same face, the same side of the moon. That one blew my mind. So all of these separate and individual things have a tendency to fall into step together. These are natural occurring fellowships all around the Earth and beyond. Sorry, I got really excited. These are naturally occurring fellowships all around the Earth and beyond it. So we are born to sync up in this way. We are born to be in relationship to one another. Fellowship is a word that gets reserved for a religious community, but definitionally speaking, a group of peers, a friendly association, we could aspire to consider ourselves in fellowship with all humans, with all the Earth. We are in fellowship with our family, friends, the gardening club, our colleagues at work. We don't get to choose every fellowship we're a part of, and not all fellowships feel safe to us. But that's what makes those of us gathered in spiritual community a special circumstance. When we do get to choose where we belong, when we feel safe and at home in community, we have an added opportunity there to practice and embody our values. Safety allows for vulnerability, from which comes growth. So if we take as an example the sixth principle, the goal of world community, as one of our values, then by participating in a fellowship where we feel we belong, we then have the safety to practice that value, to put into practice what it means to have a community with peace, liberty, justice for everyone. And as we're practicing that, we're building a muscle so that we can expand that practice and that view out of this community and into the ever widening circles of fellowship. So not just this congregation, our family, or our job, but the fellowship of our neighbors, our fellow Californians, every person living in this country, every person in the world, and even beyond that, every living thing, all of nature, we can explore the practice of seeing the world community in this way. So how do I know if I am in right fellowship with another person, a group, a plant, the earth, a fellowship where I'm enacting my values? There are a few elements that clue us in: the existence of support, compassion, reciprocity. And for me, I think of warmth. So as a small example, I really love trees. So right now I'm cultivating a relationship with a tree in my backyard. It's kind of a sad tree. It is a little skinny and a lot of its leaves are very diseased. And it stands next to a beautiful, full, healthy sycamore tree. When I first moved into this house, I only wanted to sit under the sycamore tree and admire its luscious branches. But eventually I started paying more attention to this scrawny, unidentifiable tree next to me. And I realized the person I want to be, my value is wanting to be in fellowship with all trees. So I started to spend time sitting against its trunk, observing its leaves, just accepting it as it is, and noticing a growing sense of warmth that I felt towards this tree. And that clued me into our growing fellowship between me and the tree. And as that deepened, I was able to receive the gift of its particular beauty. So I invite you to consider the unique beauty of the various fellowships of which you're a part, whether it's the beauty of the 7 principles in this fellowship of UUs, or the beauty of many bags of sour gummy worms some of us may consume with our friends while re-watching Fellowship of the Ring. So I honor you all in your fellowship, and thank you so much for welcoming me into it today. Blessed be.
Thank you, Emmeline. It was beautiful. Now we turn to our exceptional Carole Cole for our closing hymn, number 354, We Laugh, We Cry. If you care to stand in the sanctuary and hum along or sing while masked, I welcome you to do so. Thank you. I'm looking to Tom. Okay, good. It's that going back and forth. We have some great singers here in the sanctuary, I'll have to say. Now it's time to extinguish the chalice and carry its light of love. The chalice extinguishing words are, do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. All things break and all things can be mended, not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go, love intentionally, extravagantly, unconditionally. The broken world that awaits you in darkness is for the light that is you. And now Emmeline will give us our benediction.
So our benediction is actually number 596, and it's a response. If anyone feels so moved as to do it with me. Right in the end there. 596. 596. Where did it go? Okay. So I'll read both, but I'll lift up my hand for you to also read the italics with me, please. Boundless goodwill. Let us cultivate boundless goodwill. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none in anger or ill will wish another harm. Even as a mother watches over her child, so with boundless mind should one cherish all living beings, radiating friendliness over the whole world, above and below and all around, without limit. Thank you.
That was really touching. Thank you, Emmeline. That was beautiful. Now we will join our hearts, and those here will stand and form a circle. And those at home, please sing along on Zoom. You can hum along here or sing while masked here in the sanctuary. And we'll be singing Let There Be Peace on Earth. And then stick around for our virtual cafe and in-person discussions. And Emily will be around for a few minutes after the service. Let there be peace on earth. Please stand and join a circle.
Let peace on earth.
And let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With earth as our mother, we are family. Let us walk with each other. Perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my song vow. Take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth. Let it begin with me.